Today, we're digging into a leaked government memo that asks a really fundamental question, one that goes all the way back to the country's founding. Who gets to decide when the government can come into your home? Now, the answer might seem totally obvious, but a secret government directive suggests maybe it's not so clear-cut.
So our story kicks off with a document that was absolutely never meant for you or me to see. It's a secret memo, and it challenges a core principle most of us just take for granted: the privacy of our own homes.
I mean, for pretty much all of us, the answer is a hard no, right? The Fourth Amendment was literally written to stop government agents from just barging in without getting a judge's okay first. But it turns out at least one government agency had a very different and very secret interpretation of that rule.
And here it is. Back in 2025, a couple of anonymous whistleblowers leaked this internal policy memo from ICE. And let me tell you, it offered a pretty startling new answer to that basic question, an answer that seems to just fly in the face of centuries of constitutional law.
Okay, so to really get what a bombshell this memo was, we have to break down two very different kinds of documents that, confusingly, are both called warrants. And believe me, the difference between them is everything.
So on one side, you have something called an administrative warrant. This is basically an internal document, signed by an official inside the agency itself, like an ICE officer. But on the other side, you have a judicial warrant. That's a court order, and it's signed by a neutral judge who's part of the judicial branch of government.
The source material had this fantastic way of putting it. These two things are about as similar as a French horn and a shoehorn. Sure, they both have horn in the name, but their actual function, totally, completely different. One is for internal paperwork, the other is a fundamental check on government power. So, just to be super clear, an administrative warrant definitely gives an officer the authority to make an arrest for an immigration violation, but only in a public place. It has never, ever been understood as a green light to force your way into someone's house.
The judicial warrant, on the other hand, that's the key that unlocks the door. It only gets issued after a neutral judge has looked at the evidence and agrees there's probable cause. That's the constitutional gold standard that law enforcement needs to cross the threshold of your home to make an arrest.
And this is where it all comes to a head. You've got centuries of constitutional law and Supreme Court rulings on one side, and this little secret memo on the other.
I mean, the Supreme Court has been unbelievably clear on this. They've called the physical entry into a home the chief evil, the main thing the Fourth Amendment was written to stop. This isn't some fuzzy legal gray area. This is the absolute core of that constitutional protection.
And then you have this. This is the money quote from the leaked memo. It claims the Constitution does not prohibit using these internal administrative warrants to go into someone's home and arrest them. It's just a complete, direct challenge to that core constitutional idea.
And look, this isn't just a general principle. This is settled law. There's a landmark case, Peyton v. New York, that spelled it out. You need a warrant from a neutral judge, not from inside the agency itself, before you can enter a home to arrest someone. The memo is basically arguing for the exact thing this case said was unconstitutional.
So what do you do if you have a new policy that seems to, completely contradict a major Supreme Court precedent? Well, according to the whistleblowers, you roll it out very, very quietly.
Yeah, the sources describe this whole chain of communication that really seems designed to keep this thing under wraps. Apparently, the physical memo was only shown to a few supervisors. Then, they would verbally brief their teams. Some agents got to read it, but only while being watched, and then they had to hand it right back. No copies, no paper trail. And here's where it gets even wilder. This secret memo directly contradicts ICE's own public training manuals. Their legal handbooks, their operations guides, all of them say, black on white, that an administrative warrant is not enough to enter a home without getting consent first.
And apparently, this was causing some real turmoil inside the agency. The whistleblower report says that a veteran government training instructor actually resigned. They just quit their job rather than be forced to teach this new policy, which they personally believed was unconstitutional.
So, let's get down to it. Why does this line between two pieces of paper matter so much? Well, because it's not just about paperwork. It's fundamental to our entire system of checks and balances.
Okay, let's just boil it all down one last time. When you look at them side by side, the real difference is all about who signs the paper and what power it grants. The entire system is built on this idea that only a neutral judge, not an employee of the agency doing the investigating, can give the government the power to enter your home.
The Supreme Court actually explained the why behind this perfectly. They said you just can't expect police or prosecutors to be neutral about their own cases. Of course they're not.
The whole reason we require a warrant from a judge is to put a check on that power, to bring in a separate, impartial decision maker.
And so that really leaves us with this one final question. At the end of the day, the debate that this leaked memo sparked is all about who you believe the Constitution put in charge of guarding your front door. Who's the ultimate gatekeeper? Is it the government agent who's pursuing a case, or is it the neutral judge who stands apart from it all? It's a question that gets right to the very heart of the Fourth Amendment.